নমস্কার, রাষ্ট্রবিজ্ঞান চর্চা কেন্দ্রের আজকের বিশেষ আলোচনা সভায় সবাইকে স্বাগত। আজকে আমাদের সঙ্গে উপস্থিত রয়েছেন প্রফেসর ডক্টর সুমিতা রয় মহাশয়া, রিটায়ার্ড প্রফেসর, ডিপার্টমেন্ট অফ ইংলিশ, ওসমানিয়া ইউনিভার্সিটি। আজকের আলোচনার বিষয় হলো রোল অফ পলিটিক্স, কালচার অ্যান্ড স্পিরিচুয়ালিটি টু মেক ইন্ডিয়া এ গ্লোবাল লিডার ইন দ্য নেক্সট 25 ইয়ার্স। আজকের এই বিশেষ আলোচনা সভায় উপস্থিত হওয়ার জন্য মহাশয়াকে আমাদের রাষ্ট্রবিজ্ঞান চর্চা কেন্দ্রের পক্ষ থেকে অসংখ্য ধন্যবাদ এবং আমাদের প্রণাম জানাই। আজকের আলোচনা শুরু করার জন্য মহাশয়াকে অনুরোধ জানাচ্ছি। ধন্যবাদ।
My greetings to all the participants who have assembled here, and to the organizers, my gratitude. A week back, I did not know about your organization, and then I had a conversation with Prof Chakraborty, who told me about the great work all of you are doing. Discussions, talking, exchanging ideas is a wonderful way of going ahead. So I felt very happy to come and participate in your program. Although I'm a Bengali, as you can make out from my name, but I'm born and brought up in Hyderabad. From my birth, I have been here. Therefore, I'm not able to give you a lecture in Bengali because my Bengali is only very colloquial Bengali. I can speak with you, but I can't lecture in that language. I would request all of you also to be able to use a bilingual method. When I'm using English, you can translate in your mind into your mother tongue so that understanding becomes easier. We always use 2-3 languages to make our understanding easier. Now, the topic, as you have already heard, is the role of politics, culture, and spirituality. And what are these 3 things going to do? They are going to make the country a global leader in the next 25 years by the effort of all of you, the young participants who are all here. Our life is finished. We have done everything we could do, but your life is beginning. Therefore, this is very important for the young participants who are students, who are research scholars, who are young faculty members. Therefore, let us all try to do it together. It is not as though I'm telling you my ideas. Let us put our ideas together and come to a solution. First, I would like to tell you that I will spend about 45 minutes talking about what I feel about the topic. The remaining 15 minutes can be used mainly for commenting. I feel very happy if you give your opinions, if you give your suggestions, because questioning is an intellectual activity. It is not an experiential activity. The topic requires your experience. It doesn't require only understanding, but it requires participation. Therefore, I would be happy if those 15 minutes are spent in commenting, in giving suggestions and ideas. Of course, if you have questions, that was most welcome. I'll be very happy to answer your questions. But I will be happier to listen to your ideas. Let us now begin with the key words in the topic. I'm beginning from the back. Like, we write in Urdu, we write from the other side. So I'm beginning with 25 years. Since we have just celebrated the completion of 75 years of our independence, what I'm talking about is the phase which leads to the centenary, to the 100 years of India's independence. Why are these 25 years important? Let us talk about it. The first is that we are going to go to a landmark, and that is centenary. The second is that whenever we set a goal, we are setting a goal here. What should India do? What should India become? And in goal setting, the time factor is very important. Whenever we are setting a goal, we say 1 day, 1 year, 10 years, so on. We are setting a goal for 25 years. This is the second important point why I have mentioned 25 years. The third important point is that these 25 years have given India a demographic dividend. This dividend will slowly go away after about 30 years. So, as we are aiming towards the centenary of our independence, we are also looking at a great advantage of India. And this demographic dividend is the youngsters in the country, the huge young population which is there in our country today. It is a very powerful, positive tool for India's development. So, when we are talking about these three things, we mentioned 25 years. That is the reason why I mentioned 25 years. Now, we move on to the next term, and that is to make India a global leader. Now, we are talking about leadership. So, we are looking at a definition of leadership that is, first to lead ourselves before leading others. Before becoming a global leader, India needs to lead itself in the proper channel, in the proper, accurate, correct path. And what is India? Except all of you, except our treasure of younger generation. So, unless each youngster becomes a leader, not a political leader, not a spiritual or cultural leader, but a leader who goes in the proper path, in the right path, goes towards the right orientation to give life meaning, then if all these citizens of India come together, then India is a leader of itself. Once India is a leader of itself, it becomes an inspiration for the globe. We don't have to thrust our leadership on the world. We are not conquering the world by becoming a leader. We are not aggressive in our leadership. We are inspirational. We are inspiring the world to become, to stand out as a leader. And then the others are emulating us because we are leaders. We are not telling them we are a leader and you are the follower. We are proving ourselves to be capable of emulation, to be capable of following. So, if the leader is good, obviously everybody follows the leader. That is what we are looking for. So, in the next 25 years, we need the youngsters to become real leaders themselves, to strengthen the leadership quality of the country so that the country is an inspiration for the whole world to accept it as their leader. This is the concept which we have to remember, because many leaders have also gone in the wrong path. They have gone into leadership with a lot of assertion and aggression. We are not doing that. We are not trying to capture by violence. We are trying to lead by example. This is very important for us. Now, let us come to the three parameters which I have identified in order to achieve this. Now, when we talk about politics or culture or spirituality, these are the yardsticks, they are the measurements. So, we want to measure our leadership's capability, we want to measure our leadership style, our leadership, achievements, we have to have some measurement. The measurements which I have given you are politics, culture, and spirituality. These are three terms to understand which we need to look at the past and the present. We are talking now about the future, the leadership in the next 25 years. The future is structured on the foundation of the past and present. All of you know, no building can come up unless it has a firm foundation. So we are looking at the edifice of our country's leadership in the next 25 years. It's a beautiful building, it's a beautiful structure. But what about the foundation? The beautiful structure will not stand unless there is a good foundation. This foundation is our evolutionary history. So we have to talk about the history of politics, the history of culture, and the history of spirituality, compare it to the global situation, and then understand what is it we need to do in order to change all this to fit into the criteria of an inspirational leadership. We have a time frame. So within that time frame, can we achieve this? As most of you are students of political science, I'm only an English teacher. I'm not a student of political science. So you know much more about politics than I know. You know all about the past and the present of Indian politics. You know the global political thought from the past to the present. So I will not try to tell you much about it. I will only mention this, that the usual aspect of politics is governance, and it is a hierarchical power structure. These are the two parameters which I'm going to concentrate on. One is governance. You know, within a family, there is governance because somebody takes the lead, the leader. The word political leader is a very important point. In a society, in your locality, in your community, in your city, or in your village, we always have a person who's taking the governance in their hand, who is leading because power is invested in that person. So, this governance and power, very important. We have had autocracy, monarchy, etc. We have had theocracy, you know, religion being more important than the state. Today we have democracy. All these patterns of governance we have to find out how power is being used in them. We find that the major barrier in the path of political excellence or political idealism is the misuse of power. Because people who have power are not moderate in their behavior. So, to use politics as a tool for leadership, to use politics as the yardstick for measuring whether India will become a global leader or not, we have to first take up self analysis. Self analysis would imply we look within ourselves. Now we are talking about the whole nation. So we not only look within individuals, but we look within the structure of our nation. In which direction is the national governance going? And the national governance is a hierarchical edifice, you know, starting from the village, starting from the smallest unit to the highest unit. The cities, the states, the country, everything together has to be analyzed. For this proper analysis, you require what is called critical thinking. For our youngsters, this is very important, especially at a time when social media is so powerful and it captures your mind completely. Social media has a powerful impact. It is very persuasive. It can make propaganda sound like truth. So, for self analysis, we have to identify how is it that we are going to use our critical thinking. That means each one of you needs to analyze what is the question and what are the possible responses for any situation. You should not blindly believe whatever anybody says. I give lectures to various people. In a recent experience of mine, I remember that people who got selected for the highest bureaucratic jobs in the country were saying, there is no India. India is a concept given by the British. I was shocked. I said, no, that is not correct. They have read that in the books with which they passed this examination, and they are not willing to think, they are not willing to critically evaluate. That is where the mistake is. Brilliant youngsters who have topped in the highest examination of the country, but they have a closed mind. Critical thinking comes when we open our mind, when we are able to judge what is right, what is wrong. We are able to not become completely hating what is wrong and loving what is right. No, that is not what critical thinking is. We should aim to make what is right stronger and more powerful, better and better, because right is not only, at this point, it keeps evolving, it keeps changing. The second is, if you find something is wrong, don't hate it, don't put it aside, don't say, oh, this is terrible, these India has so many political evils. No, find a way to mitigate that evil. Find a way to stop that evil from propagating itself, controlling that evil, and transforming it into good. This is the power of the younger generation. This is the demographic dividend. Unless we are able to think like this, not only your small group, which is of course wonderful because you're engaged in thought, but you must spread this idea. Speakers cannot speak to everybody, but young thinkers can proliferate this idea all over the country. Instead of forwarding on WhatsApp whatever we think, even without looking at it, 100 forwards we send every day, we can think of these ideas, forward them, create discussion channels within two individuals or three, not necessarily only in larger groups. So, this encourages our critical thinking. Because if somebody tells you that you are wrong, you should not get upset. You should be able to analyze yourself by saying, okay, they're saying I'm wrong. Am I really wrong? If I'm wrong, then let me correct myself. I'm talking about individual. I'm talking about the larger group also for everything. Whether it is self analysis, it is critical thinking, it is openness, or it is transforming the negative into positive. It should be in at the level of the individual, because individuals make up the society, the community, the country, the nation, everything. So we have to address the individual. So unless we begin with ourselves, we are not going to put it further, in a larger platform. So we require this. For this, we require the ability to handle change. Most of us say, oh, to be political, to have any kind of power is, of course, wonderful, but it is a lot of responsibility. So I don't want that power. I avoid it. Leave it to others. I don't want to be involved. In this way, we are moving out of something by escaping our duty, our responsibility. So, when we are talking about the political betterment, using politics as a tool, we have to analyze what is the situation today. When we have all these problems like, political nepotism, or we have corruption, or we have the misuse of the political machinery, these are things which youngsters need to address. They need to change. So we have to have change management. Any change, there is resistance. Whatever change the political system is bringing for us, first response to that change is resistance. Oh, this is not possible. This is not possible. So we have to overcome that resistance to change, because any change which is properly thought out, it is properly analyzed, critically evaluated, is a good change. Is it necessary or is it not? Once you have proved it is necessary, it is essential. So look at the political structure, dissect it into small units, and then respond to it, discuss it, and think how to make it better. It's not possible to change a structure overnight. It is not possible to, because you have no power as a young individual in the country, you might think, oh, I'm totally powerless. But remember, I told you the dividend. The dividend is the greatest strength today. Are the youngsters really thinking? Are they responding? Are they bringing about this change? Let us now move on to the next of the parameters, and that is culture. Culture is a conglomerate, it is a merging of various aspects and thoughts of human life. The ideals, the ideas, the patterns of behavior, the norms which have been popular from thousands of years, that is what is the foundation of culture. We say Indian culture with a lot of pride. But some people say, oh, Indian culture is only something to feel proud about the past, nothing to be proud of at the present. Is this what you also feel? As younger generation, do you feel that our culture is locked up only in the past, that we have not imbibed it in the present, that we are not able to use culture as a tool for progress, that culture is regressive? These are all questions which lead to your critical thinking. Because as I told you, self analysis, critical thinking, and change management, this will apply to all the three: politics, culture, and spirituality. For everything, you have to apply these three. Now, when we are talking about culture, now what are we talking about? India has a varied culture. We have a culture which is inherited from tens of thousands of years. There was a time when India was a global leader. A lot of research is going on in that anthropological, sociological dimension today, which you can read up. Today, after NEP 2020, AICT is doing a lot of work in this area. You can read up. In fact, IIT Kharagpur, I'm reading a book now, which was a seminar of theirs, in these areas, looking at our cultural dimension. So we are looking at that culture. But we had a lot of interpolation in that culture. For instance, we had, a culture which is not a single route, it is not a single stream, like many of the Occidental cultures which have a single direction. Here we have multiple branches, like we have the people tree. The people tree is supposed to be scientifically very important tree. So when we are looking at Indian culture, we are looking like that. Thousands and thousands of leaves, each forming a unit of culture, but the whole thing is a single unification. We had many religions also. We had Buddhism, we had Jainism, we had Sikhism, we had Islam, we had Christianity, we had Parsi, Zoroastrianism, and we had, Jews coming. All kinds of culture has got intermingled. But it has become Indian culture, like all the rivers flowing into the Bay of Bengal. It does not retain its identity anymore. It becomes Bay of Bengal because different names are there of the rivers as long as they are individual. Once they merge, it becomes a single unit. And that is how Indian culture is. We talk about unity in diversity. What is the unity here? The unity is the commonality that all cultures have greatness. If we put all those greatness together, we have a commonality. All cultures have drawbacks also. It's not necessary that everything that is past is excellent. The drawbacks of each culture we analyze. We look at it, as though we are scientists under the microscope. And we see, is it possible to change and contemporize? Can we change it and make it better? If it is not suitable now, make it modern? Yes, then accept it. It's not possible. That part of culture is not possible at all. So keep it aside. Don't forget that culture, but don't try to use it if it is not usable. We have a term today, a biological, ecological term called recycling. Indian culture is resilient because it is capable of recycling. It has recycled everything. Look at your Bengali vocabulary. How many words are there from Persian, Arabic in Bengali? My language is not very good because I learned Bengali at home. My mother was strict. She made us read and write a little. But that is informal education. I could make out the richness of this language. We have such ideas in all our cultures. If you take the, cultural revival which was done by Shankaracharya, then you can understand what critical thinking is. To a young Shankaracharya, somebody asked, "Who are you?" So he sang that beautiful song, Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham. That is the culture, the basis, the root of the culture. That we are not talking about divisiveness, we are talking about unification. Chidananda Rupa, Sat Chit Ananda. These are concepts which are not religious based. You cannot say because I'm a Hindu, I'm mentioning these words. Because Ananda is there in all religions. Bliss, the finer, highest mystical idea. Then consciousness. We have in every culture the idea of the brain, the higher brain, the ability to think. And then, of course, you have truth, the various definitions of truth. Today, of course, we are in a post truth generation, but we are not able to deny the reality of truth even when we are talking about multiple layers of truth. These are all the philosophical documents, dimensions of our culture, our thought. A very important part of our culture is spirituality also. Language, food, clothing, these are all very important. Our attitudes, our mannerisms, these are all very important. These are a part of our culture. So, if we look at our culture, is it possible to promote the culture in order to attain leadership? This is a question which needs to be asked, because unless you know your culture, you cannot promote it. If you have a very fragmented or a very partial or a very prejudiced view of your culture, then you cannot discuss culture, because we have narrowed down ourselves. Then that is not culture. Culture is expansive. Culture is empathetic. I have to participate in everybody else's culture. Only then I understand. After globalization, we are not only talking about Indian culture, but we are talking about a global culture today. I'm sure many of you might watch American movies. They are all English movies. You will find in the recent movies at least a few scenes of yoga are always there. Yogic exercises. We say, oh, yoga is Indian. We are so proud Indian culture gave yoga. Wonderful. But how many of us really know what is the real meaning of yoga? Is it yoga only physical exercises? Is it not something else? What about the kind of yoga which says union? Union with the divine, that cosmic being? These are all questions of culture which come. We have languages, multilingual, multi-religious, multicultural. We have all multi in India. And this multi-level of our abilities makes us so much more interesting. There is a saying in English, variety is the spice of life. Spice means what we put to make our food tasty. If the food is only boiled and given with no salt and nothing else, no masalas, we don't like that food. We like the food to have some spices. In English, we have a saying, variety is the spice of life. We have endless variety in India. As many people are there, billions of people, and that those many varieties. So let us borrow the culture at the individual level. What is your culture? At the level of a family, a society, a community, a group, a village, a, a district. Then you have interchange of culture, intermingling of culture, moving away. Hyderabad is full of people who come from your state, West Bengal. So we have intermingling of culture. We are the ones who grew up here. So you can imagine how much intermingling. I can speak to you in Telugu as much as I can speak to you in Bengali. Conversation. So we have intermingling of culture. This is our strength. Why are we feeling deprived because we are talking about Indian culture? Whenever somebody is talking about Indian culture, we find a discomfort in many youngsters. They say, oh, Indian culture, what is this Indian culture? It's not nothing nice, because they are unaware. We have to increase our awareness about it. So, by self analysis, by critical thinking, by change management, let us bring culture to the mainstream of our life. Let us identify aspects of which we can be proud. We need not be proud of cultural dilemmas such as the caste system or gender. I saw in one of your lectures that you were talking about women in 75 years. Wonderful. These are aspects which we need to evaluate, which we need to change, which we need to discuss. In 75 years, we have not been able to overcome poverty. How is it that the country has the richest and the poorest also? Are we not talking about all these attitudes and patterns of behavior? Are we not talking about all these fragments to really unify them? Not to keep them illiterate, not to keep them dependent, not to have any support system? These are aspects of culture which you combine with politics, because political will gives you the ability to remodel culture, to reformulate culture. But you will find that even the worst deprived people have a powerful culture in their hands. The people who work as daily wage workers, the people who work as maids in houses, if you look at them, you will find that Indian culture is alive even there. So, how much more powerful Indian culture should be in the educated elite to the upper strata of society? Can we not have a single strata? You know, we talk about socialism so much. So, can we not have that in our culture where everybody is equal, where everybody is given respect because what she or he is, not because of some external baggage, which is the negative aspect of our culture? Now we come to the third of our tools, and that is spirituality. Spirituality is the ability to participate with everybody, the feeling that all of us are one. There is no distinction between created beings, human being to an ant, you know. The little ant is the same as the human being. All human beings are same. It is only our misunderstanding that has fragmented us. We have racial differences, we have religious differences, we have differences which are geographic. All these are differences which are created. But finally, what is there in all created beings is a part of that energy which we have in the entire global situation, and that is the cosmic energy. So, the moment we start feeling this unification, the moment we start feeling that we are a part of that entire cosmic whole, we are spiritual. There are groups of people who say spiritual but not religious. SBNR. You can Google and you'll find them. Not much. But see, religion today has become like a weapon. It is being used against each other. But what we have mistaken is that religion has rituals, that is our practice. It has theology, that is some firm belief. And then it has philosophy. Where you look at the philosophy of religion, you find that religion is very scientific, it doesn't have any superstition, and it is close to spirituality. And there you don't have religion as different from each other. If you read Aldous Huxley's book, The Perennial Philosophy, you know, he starts the first chapter by using thou art that. Thou art that is our Upanishadic doctrine, Tattvamasi. But Aldous Huxley was not Indian. In fact, he says, while writing a foreword to the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, that, you know, it's very difficult for me to understand the Indian culture, the Indian ethos, because I'm not an Indian. He was British born, American. He stayed in America for a long time. But he starts his perennial philosophy by putting all the philosophies of the world together, beginning with that chapter. So, what are we seeing? We are seeing a spirituality which is a heightening of consciousness. Along with our 75 years completion of our independence, we also celebrated Sri Aurobindo's 150th anniversary. Sri Aurobindo speaks about the supramental consciousness. He talks about life divine. That is what is spirituality. We have so many saints and sages who are talking about spirituality, not only in India, but mystics all over the world have spoken about spirituality. That is the connection between you and me, not the fragmentation, not the divisiveness, not I am the lecturer and you are the listener. That division is not going to help us to achieve leadership. A leadership is that unification. Today, I might be in a leadership position. Tomorrow, I'm willing to work as a team member. I'm willing to give you the leadership role. That ability should come. So, whether it is politics, or it is culture, or it is spirituality, what we require is a system of values. In the next few minutes, maybe 5 minutes, I will talk about the system of values which we require for us to become, what we are trying to become in the next 25 years. The worst crisis today in our country or in our community or in our locality or in our private groups is the skepticism about values. Say, oh, how can we be value based, value oriented? When nobody is practicing values, why should I practice values? We have to remember that what everybody is doing is very easy to do. We don't want to do something which is very easy to do. We want to do something which is worth doing. So, to practice values where others don't have values is difficult, but it is admirable. So we need to choose values which are important. And this is what we call an ethical consciousness. So we have to see what we are doing, whether we are doing it right or wrong. We go around saying, oh, everybody is so corrupt, everybody is so corrupt. But imagine if we peep into our own selves. Suppose I'm getting late for college. I hire an auto saying, okay, I will give you 100 rupees when it is only 20 rupees. Am I not encouraging corruption? Because I'm late, the fault is mine. I'm encouraging somebody else to become corrupt. I'm tempting that person towards corruption. So we cannot be like that. We are educated. We are the leaders of society. We have got educated at the cost of the people who are working for this. Each one of us who is getting educated is subsidized by the hard work, the sweat and blood of the people of India. So we cannot be non idealistic. We cannot say, oh, I don't want values. So, what is the right value? The right value is the ability to choose. We have the term Viveka, like Vivekananda, your great leader. Choose every moment of each day. If we choose at the individual level, at the level of our own group, our small, team, we will find that slowly the culture is improving. There was a time, if you read the foreign guests who used to come at the time, in the ages much, much before, they wrote that in India, nobody tells lies, nobody cheats anybody. This was the kind of value system our culture has invested in us. Today, nobody says, people give advisories outside India by saying, don't go to India, it's very dangerous. Now, how are you going to become a leader when you have such a reputation? The reputation is built up over a period of time. So, our ability to moderate, our ability to choose what is right, our ability to, because ethics tells us it is not morality, speak the truth, be obedient, though that is morality. But ethics is contextual. Suppose they say be obedient, and somebody gives you a wrong advice by saying, you steal some money. So he says, oh, I'm very obedient. So my elder has told me go and steal. So I have to go and steal. Now, here, what you have to use is your discrimination, your ability to choose. You say, my elder is saying I should listen to my elders, no doubt. But stealing is not correct. Therefore, I should not do it. This is ethics. Ethics is sometimes, according to the context, according to the situation, we choose the value. Truth, for instance. Sometimes truth is very hurtful. So we have to use tact. We are not telling lies. We are not telling the truth which hurts somebody. So that is the ethical dimension which we have to use. Which values will take us forward should be chosen by the generations to come. Which dimensions of these values should be applied to politics, which should be applied to culture and spirituality, should also be chosen by you. Because remember that the ability to make a choice is the mature quality. Because we keep telling you everything, we say, oh, you are young, so please listen to us. We are not allowing you to become mature. But remember, a 2-year-old child also has a maturity that has to be fostered, that has to be nurtured, it has to be brought up. So that by the time you are 18, 20 years old, you are capable of voting, not only casting your vote, but making mature decisions. So, what is your decision? Is India going to remain as it is today? We celebrated 75 years in great way. We put flags in every house. But did we really do something like internal imbibing of this idea? That will be seen in the next 25 years. Responsibility you have to take. And this responsibility, if every youngster in India takes, whether they are educated or not educated, whether they're rich or poor, where they are, belong to different categories of people, it does not matter. That huge percentage of young population in India, if everybody takes this as a responsibility, nobody can stop India. I'm sure of that. And I thank you for your patient listening. We have a little time now for questions, comments, suggestions. Please feel free to share.
Thank you, ma'am. Uh,
Can India become a superpower in 2050? Now, if you mean superpower by conquering everybody, by fighting with everybody and capturing their geographic land, then I hope not. I'm not predicting because I'm not an astrologer, but I don't want that superpower for India, which is a power which shows military might. If you mean superpower by soft power, then India is already hugely a superpower because the Indian diaspora is there all over the world doing wonderful intellectual contribution to every country in the world. India will certainly become better and better in this participation because today we have globalization, so we cannot say we are only Indian citizens. We are global citizens. So, whatever capabilities we have are invested in a global betterment. So, if India takes a lead in climate protection, if India takes a lead in, population advancement, if India takes a lead in not economic wastage, but economic nurturing, if India takes a lead in, culture and spirituality, as I told you, very important, not fragmentation, but unification, what we call as inclusivity, then India will certainly, with all your help, become a superpower. I hope I have given an answer. How India is emerging as a global leader. Yes, India is emerging as a global leader. In the last few years, we have seen, especially in after 2008, when there was a huge economic crisis, many people suggested that India has, each of us has one earthen box where children put some coins, etc. So that was a saving culture, a culture which gives you the ability not to spend but to save. That was 2008. Today in 2022, we are saying that to sustain the global economics, we have to spend more and more. Therefore, India has to develop by consumerism. Now, when we are talking about spirituality, we have to balance these two, the material dimension and the spiritual dimension. To become completely spiritual will bring us in a crisis like it came, thousands of years back, when everything became ahimsa and everything was, the monkhood, not the grihasthashram. So these ideas are important to balance. Now, India is emerging as a global leader in some of the good policy decisions which are being made. But much remains to be done for India to evolve more and more. The process has begun. The process began long back. When India became independent, the process began. I remember my professors used to say that when they would go abroad to lecture, they were often asked that tigers come to your city. That was the idea. Do they have the rope trick in your university? These were the ideas about India because that was the Orientalist idea which was given of India. Slowly, that idea of India changed. Today, when I travel abroad, when I go everywhere, and I proudly introduce myself as an Indian, I get immediate recognition. They don't say, "Where is India?" or "What is India?" They say, "Oh, India." That feeling you will get when you travel around, you will get. In certain countries, especially in the Asian countries, they feel that we are a real leader. They feel that their culture is derived from our culture. They immediately greet you by folding hands like namaste. Of course, after COVID, we are all folding our hands. We see many Western countries also doing that. But this happened much before COVID, I'm talking about. When you go, to a place like Thailand, they say, "You are the mother culture and we are the children of the mother India." So India has become a global leader in many things. Newer and newer ideas are required for evolution, then I'm sure India will become a more firmly established global leader. I'm happy you use the term because that is the term I put in my talk, because I don't want us to stop here. A famous English poet, Tennyson, says that experience is like an arch. Experience is a gate. So you far away, you see the gate is there. And then you go there, you find there is another gate, oh, more experience, and then further. So it is evolution is like that. You cross one landmark, global leader today, 2022. Then again you go, oh, again global leader 2032. Oh, again you go global leader 2047. Then you go 2050, 2060, 2080. You go on and on because expansion is the evolving pattern which you have here. The definition of leadership expands, and India meets that challenge with the help of the younger generation. Vivekananda says, my faith is in the younger generation. I'm repeating that idea. Our faith is in you. It is you who have to make this global leader. India can only emerge as a global leader when each one of you is a leader in yourself. Okay, I hope I have answered your question. Okay, how can we develop India in the future? I think I spent my entire time talking about this. I will try to put it in one or two sentences. Any development in the future is a choice of positives and a control of negatives. Now, as citizens of India, as educated youngsters in this country, I'm sure you're able to name many, many negatives which are there in the country. Immediately, a long list can come. So, the future development of India depends on how far we can control these negatives. But because we make a list of negatives, please do not think that India has no positives. India has many positives also. These positives might not be very evident because the negatives might be hiding the positive. Therefore, let us strengthen those which are positives. I gave you the term value orientation. So let us look at the values which might be hidden somewhere far away. I will tell you an example. It was a shocking but a humorous example. This happened in Kolkata. I visited, I think, a couple of weeks back. We were going in a taxi. Somebody was begging. So I said, sorry, I don't have. And the person who was driving locked the door of the car. Immediately, this person who was begging said that people of your level are thieves. People of our level are not thieves. We are honest beggars, but you rich people are the thieves. Can you see critical thinking? Can you see change management? Can you see goal setting? Can you see the need for values in a real of my own life, which I'm sharing with you? These are the experiences on the foundation of which the future depends. Unfortunately, all of us who are experiencing these momentary great things are dusting it under the carpet by saying that they are not important. We forget about these things. But if they can give us a lesson, we can transmit that lesson and we can make India have a glorious future. The past of India is a powerful foundation for the future. So don't ignore the past. Living only in the past puts you out of touch with the present. So don't live only in the past. Try to make the past usable, recycle the past, and put it in the present. The future will take care of itself. Okay, I hope I've answered your question. Very good question. What will be my contribution in making this vision of India 2050 a reality? I gave you one term. Let me repeat it once more. You have to first analyze yourself, self assessment, self examination. What is it that is I'm capable of contributing? And what is it that is stopping me from making this contribution? This is a question you need to ask yourself. Slowly, we come to know ourselves. Most of us don't know who we are. Remember that when you were given a name, you know, when our Prakash got his name, did his parents ask him that, do you want to be called Prakash? No. But today, using that term Prakash, he's giving light to all of us. He's giving brightness to all of us. So he has identified with his name. He has identified his qualities which are inherent, which are powerful, which are within himself. So we have to first identify what is it that I'm capable of? What is it that I'm not capable of? Let us not try to do what we can't do. Let us do what we can do. And are we doing it selfishly? I'm very good at something. Am I doing it for myself or am I doing it for others? Look at the manner in which colleges and universities advertise themselves today. They say, our students got a 1 crore package. Now, what is a 20, 25-year-old child going to do with 1 crore rupees package salary? We don't have requirement for so much. We have requirement for a decent life, a luxurious life if you want, but not a life which deprives others of money. So we have to change this mindset. We have to change this attitude of brainwashing which society is doing to us by saying that success is in what you earn, how much power you have, how much misuse of power you're doing. This is not correct. Beyond a point, these do not have any idea. So when we start analyzing ourselves, we might find that we have a lot of attitudes and behaviors which are not correct. We might have many which are excellent, but we don't know at all what is excellent and what is not correct. We say that we are grown up, but we don't behave like we are grown up. So when you identify yourself, when you go into your own depth, and for this, take advice from others also. If somebody tells us something bad about ourselves, we get very upset. But my best friend is a person who corrects my mistake, not who says you're excellent. Because if they say I'm excellent, I can only become proud of myself. I cannot improve myself. So, self analysis, self improvement at the level of the individual, at the level of the group, at the level of the state and the country, and of course, globally, this is where you have to contribute. So, your contribution depends on your abilities. Every individual has some abilities inherent in them. Find out that and make that the corner of your goal. I told you about goal setting. Make that your goal so that whatever you're capable of is your contribution to the nation, to the world. That therefore you are contributing well.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. আমাদের আপাতত আর কোনো প্রশ্ন নেই। ম্যামকে অসংখ্য ধন্যবাদ আমাদের রাষ্ট্রবিজ্ঞান চর্চা কেন্দ্রে আসার জন্য, এবং একটি খুব সুন্দর আলোচনা আমাদের সাথে ম্যাম করলেন রোল অফ পলিটিক্স নিয়ে। সত্যি অসাধারণ আলোচনাটি হয়েছে। আমি এখানে আজকের আলোচনা শেষ করছি। সকলকে ধন্যবাদ আমাদের সাথে থাকার জন্য। থ্যাংক ইউ ম্যাম।
Thank you.